Well, I'm George Booten, and I got here in 1947 in Spirit Lake. I didn't come today with any specific stories in mind. Sometimes it's kind of hard to just open up and start talking and keep talking until you figure nobody's interested anymore. But if someone has a question about something, I will answer it if I can, and if I can't, I'll say so. And it may make me think of something to say. So with that in mind, does anybody have something they want to ask? Ole.
Yeah, Buzzy, why don't you start out with your dad when he came to town and what he did, and then kind of your history after that.
Starting out with my dad and family and why they came here.
Yeah.
Well, my mother and dad got married in Wisconsin in 1942. And, well, of course, newlyweds, they were thinking about what to do. And my sister, which was a teenager at the time, had read a lot of Zane Grey novels and was interested in horses and wanted to come west. And, well, they lived on a rented farm and was not able to buy one back there. So her and my dad thinking, well, maybe we'll move west. Well, my mother didn't want to, but she got outvoted. So anyway, the place where I live and where I grew up is halfway to Blanchard. Well, they bought that in 1942, sight unseen. And they didn't see it for 2 years. And anyway, this time of year, in 1944, they loaded everything they could get in a boxcar. And what they couldn't put in the boxcar, they sold or left behind. But anyway, they had their household furniture and farm animals and everything in the boxcar. And headed for Spirit Lake on Milwaukee. Well, it took them 8 days to get here. And of course, they had the farm animals to take care of in the boxcar, make sure they had water and something to eat. Well, anyway, they got here in September and spent their first night in Idaho on the depot platform in a sleeping bag. Well, the next day or so, they get to the place and they find out there's almost no buildings and the road's washed out. Well, I guess it was pretty hectic, but anyway, they camped out in a wagon for 2 or 3 weeks till they got the roof on one building that was still standing, but the roof had fell in. Well, of course, then they had no barn and no hay for the horses or the milk cow, but anyway, they made it. And the next spring, both of my parents and my sister went to work at Farragut for the Navy, but they went to work as civilians. So anyway, it progressed from there, and a year or 2 later, I showed up.
From the platform.
Do you want me to go any further, or somebody else want to say something?
Well, one story that I've always really appreciated is the story about what happened to the things
What happened to what?
To all the things that your family was bringing and how they couldn't get them from the train? Can you tell that story?
Well, anyhow, on the way out here in a boxcar, there had been a train wreck ahead of them. And so, while the track was getting cleaned up, they rerouted this train for a ways, I don't know how many miles, probably somewhere in Montana, but a few miles. So anyway, when they got to Spirit Lake, the depot agent wasn't going to let them unload because they owed some other railroad a little bit of money for being on their track during this derail. Well, that caused quite a little contention, and my dad wasn't necessarily a very patient guy, but anyhow, they had transferred some money to the Newport Bank when they left Wisconsin. Well, there weren't computers and near as many phones then, and no electronic transfers and everything, so I guess he was going to have to pay this extra demurrage, but of course he had to get his car out to go to Newport and get the money. Well, they weren't going to let him unload. Well, tempers flared pretty good. But the depot agent finally got smart enough to let him get his car, which was a 38 Ford, out of the boxcar and go to Newport and get some money. And at that time, the road was only pavement halfway to Newport. Well, anyway, he got the money, and so they started unloading and started trying to get things to their new homestead.
So, did your question get answered, Ole, or did you want to?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Ole was satisfied with your answer to his question. Yeah. So, other questions? Yes, Chris.
Why do we call you Buzzy?
Oh, she wants to know why you are called Buzzy.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I remember Ole's dad, and I remember his uncle real well. His Uncle John liked me. Well, I'm not quite sure why I got that name, but I've had it just about as long as I've had George. But does somebody else have a question?
Did you go to, where was the school then? Did you go in Spirit Lake to school?
School? No, I did not go to Spirit Lake School. We had a Spirit Lake address, but I lived across the county line. And I went to Blanchard School. They all had all 8 grades in one room, one teacher. The teacher lived in Spirit Lake, and she lived in the same house from 1938 till 1998 when she died.
Her name?
So I'm kind of a native of both towns, a native of both towns, but I've always had a Spirit Lake address and have a Spirit Lake phone number.
What was her name? What was the teacher's name?
A teacher's name was Mildred McDaniel. Her husband's name was Fred. She was born in 1908.
Is that?
Very good, Buzzy.
And I remember Bo's mom working in the grocery store. I remember her real well. Lockland's Grocery, where the parking lot is now.
Buzzy, what are your fleet of cars? All your trucks and all your cars in the year, and your favorite one?
Well, now you're really putting me on the spot there. The one I'm driving today, I drove longer than anybody ever did because I drove it over half its life. But as far as a favorite, that's kind of a little bit hard to say, I guess. It depends what I'm hauling or where I'm going or whatever. The car I'm driving today, I paid $35 for it. Well, I'd seen it a handful of times before I bought it. And then a friend of mine bought it. And I rode it a time or two. And he got a nicer one. Well, him and I went somewhere one day in the nicer one. It was a year newer. And somebody asked him if they wanted to sell it. No, he said, but I got another one I'll sell. Well, I didn't know he wanted to sell it, but anyway, I spoke right up. I said, it's sold. Well, that would have seemed like that solved that, but the only thing is, it was February, and I didn't have $35. Well, back then there was a pulpwood yard in Athol and Newport, Priest River, and they were temporarily closed down. But this other kid and I agreed to cut pulpwood and stockpile it until the wood yard opened up, and then he would get the first $70. So we did, and the yard opened up in April, and he got the first $70. Well, he told a lot of windy stories, and he told that a woman school teacher bought this car new. Well, I didn't pay very much attention to that, because he told so many whoppers. But anyway, I knew the car had a lot of kid owners, and some of them I knew and some of them I didn't. And it's a miracle it ever survived. But anyway, it did, and about 20 years ago, I was in the liquor longer, and there was a guy in there that I hadn't seen in many years. And he says, I see you're still driving my old car. Well, I knew his brother had owned it, but I didn't know he had. So we got to talking, and he corroborated the story that a woman school teacher did buy it new. He told me where she taught school. He told me what her name was, and he told me where she lived. And he says, I bought it from her for $25. Well, now after years went by, I had to pay $35. Well, anyhow, he's talking to me many years after I had the car. But one Sunday I thought, well, I'll go see if I can look her up, knowing that I am probably too late. But anyway, she lived over by Kerrywood on a little hillside farm, and so I drove in there with the car one Sunday morning, and there's 3 guys working on a porch roof. Of course, they stopped to see who I was, why I was there, and what I wanted. And so I says to them, is Mrs. Shear at home? Mrs. Shear, last name was Shear, like shear something off. Well, they looked at me awful odd and they says, well, she's been dead many years and we've lived here a long time. And we bought this from her son Bill, and now he's dead. So then they asked me if I knew her, and I said no. But I explained that I understand she bought this car new. Well, so we talked a little while, and finally decided to go. So I turned around and I'm idling out of the driveway and I looked in the mirror and here's all three of these guys. I guess like they wondered what time warp I come out of. I had the right name, the right teacher, the right car. I was just too late. Well, since then, the guy that told me about her, he has died. So I am the only owner that's still alive of the car.
What is the car?
What year?
29. Well, I don't need to capture the whole audience here, but if somebody else wants to say something or take the phone or even ask me something else.
How did you spend your formative years? Say you're about 10 years old. What were you likely to be doing?
Paling cows.
Is that all you did? What about for fun?
For fun?
Yeah.
Well, I came to Spirit Lake and I said, Paul, I'm hungry or thirsty, and so we'd go to Cheddar's drugstore and have ice cream cone. 1 scoop was a nickel, 2 scoops was a dime, or once in a while have a bottle of pop.
Well, how old were you when you bought that car?
Teenager. And I remember your dad and your granddad and your great-granddad.
I'm sorry to hear that.
In fact, when Jim Sr. died, I had known him longer than anybody else. Because he knew my dad before I was born.
Oh, that's weird to think about.
How about your sawmill?
Well, yeah, a sawmill built this town. And I guess I'm the only thing left. I am not affiliated with the original Panhandle Lumber Company. And I'm not near as big. And I don't have everything. But I have some stuff, and I'm the only mill around here with lumber for sale. If anybody wants my phone number, you can have it. If anybody would like to come up and look or say hello, or depending on what time of day it is, have a cup of coffee or a beer, you're welcome.
Nice.
But I'm not here trying to advertise or be a salesman.
What year was your forklift that I worked on with you?
Oh, here's a guy that, he knows a little about my forklift.
Yes.
I probably have the only forklift with wooden wheels.
Is it a Dodge?
It's got Dodge engine in it
That's it.
that was made in June of 1919. And, it's made up out of a bunch of different stuff, but some of it's older than 1919. It has Firestone tires on it that didn't get recalled. But it's got a hot battery and I can start it anytime I want to. And Bo, I'm glad I got a chuckle out of you.
I was wondering how you aired up them tires.
What that?
How do you air up the tires?
Yeah, the wooden tires.
Well,
Did you all hear Bo? He wanted to know how Buzzy airs up his tires. Wooden tires, right? Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Wooden, yeah.
Okay, I've had about 4 of you ask questions. Anybody else? You?
What changes have you seen in Spirit Lake over the years?
Oh man, I can't name them all. Most of them I don't like, but a few I do. I guess in the early days there had been 7 grocery stores here, but in my memory there was 4. How about you, Ole? How many do you remember?
I think 4.
And you, Fred?
About that.
Okay. The guy that lived where I do ran a meat store here in town. And of course he raised some beef. And him and his son-in-law were kind of known for not always selling their own beef. However, they never really got caught, either one of them. Everybody suspected it and kind of knew it, but they were pretty slick because if they butchered an animal and then it went across the meat counter all cut up, who could prove where that animal come from? Well, anyway, there are no living descendants of that guy or his son-in-law left. They're all gone, or didn't. Anyway, so I'm fairly free to talk there without getting in a fist fight. Fred, you look like you had something to say.
Well, I can remember you coming in the store at the cash and carry market,
Lockwood.
and you were about maybe 10 years old, and you had a coin purse about this long. It had a snap on the top. You always had it full of coins.
Yeah. And any kid that had a few coins back then was kind of fortunate because, well, it didn't take as much money to do much back then, but then there wasn't just an abundance of money floating around either. For example, it cost me more money to fill a gas tank on my car than the car cost.
Speaking of cars, and back then, you've gone this road a million times between Spirit Lake and Blanchard. Especially decades ago, how did your cars make it without, now we have studded snow tires, but did you put chains on your car, or going up and down the hill to Spirit Lake from Blanchard, wasn't it treacherous?
Fred's got something he wants to say and I'll try to answer you.
Buzzy used to take other tires, cut them out, and stick on the tires that was on his rig.
So a tire on top of a tire?
You remember that, Buzzy?
Well, occasionally I recap my own tires, which is what Fred's talking about. If I had a tire that was a good carcass, there's just no tread on it, well, I took another one that had good tread, that had a hole in it, and married it. And one time a few years ago, I had one on my snowplow, and I was down having coffee downtown one morning. It was still dark in the wintertime. And a cop come and he wanted everybody to move their cars so the city could plow. And I says, what do you think of my recap tire? Well, he shined his flashlight at it and he don't quite see what it is. And so then I showed him and he just stood there spellbound, and so I nudged him on the shoulder and I said, I'll bet there ain't any law against that. Oh, he just rolled his eyes back and he said, I'm not even gonna waste my time on that. But now your answer to how did I get back and forth to Blanchard? Well, I'm not saying I never run chains all the way, but very rare. But where we lived up in the hills, so I put a lot of chains on. And back then there was so little traffic, you could just pull over to the side of the highway and put your chains on. Once in a while there'd be a car coming, but you could generally hear it because it was only one, and you step to one side a little bit. And you might not have anybody come by while you put chains on, or maybe one or two. Well, I certainly wouldn't want to try that today.
Can you tell us the years for all of your vehicles? You once said the newest one was like a 1949, is that correct?
Well, 49 is nearly correct. I guess that old yellow snowplow I have is the early 57, but other than that, yes, I have some 49s and different ones in the 40s and 30s and 20s. The forklift being the oldest one. How many of you have seen me haul lumber on a green truck? Quite a few. Well, the engine in that truck came out of my mother's last new car, which they were driving. I mean, it was in the boxcar when they come out here. It was their family car then. So anyway, that engine in that truck gave me my first ride in life. Home from the hospital after I was born. And it gave my mother her last ride. Casket and all. My kids have drove it. And then one of my kids passed on a couple of years ago, and it gave him his last ride. Casket and all. So, that engine's been in the family longer than I have.
How many vehicles do you have?
It depends what stage of deterioration you're talking about. I like your question. Okay, Dan.
How old's a school bus?
I have a 34 Chevy school bus.
I love that bus.
I haven't drove it for a while, but it drove when I parked it. And, I guess I just don't have quite as much enthusiasm as I used to. And yeah.
Well, we used to go up and get some lumber from you up in your place, and I noticed the distinctive house that you live in, and I said, is that an old Victorian house? And you said, no, you built it with no plywood, right? Can you talk about your house?
Well, there's no 4x8 sheets of anything in it.
Say that again, there's no what?
4x8.
No 4x8 sheets of anything to build a house. It's sheeted diagonally like they used to do. And we have gravity water. So if the electricity goes out, we still have water. And Ole, have you been there?
I've been up to your sawmill, I haven't been in the house.
You've been up to Sondahl, okay. Okay.
How long did it take you to build your beautiful barn and shop?
Well, let me think of the best way to answer that. We done the foundation, and then it was a couple of years later before we drove the first nail. And we started just about this time of year in '92. And we had the roof on it by Thanksgiving, but it didn't have any windows in it and so forth, but it had the roof on it. and I spent 3 months without a day off, and I was tired. And I just didn't do anything for about 10 days. Maybe somebody else has got something they want to talk about. I mean, I'm okay, but I'm not trying to domineer the whole thing here.
That's why we're here. We're here for you.
What's that?
We're here to listen to you.
We're here to listen to you.
Yeah,
Talk about whatever you want, Dave.
Talk about whatever I want. Oh.
I got one. Did you ever get your sawdust furnace running? In your
Sawdust
house?
furnace?
Yeah, that house with a big long auger on it.
Well, yeah, what Dan's talking about is we burn sawdust quite a bit to heat the house. Because anybody with a sawmill, you either gotta move the sawdust someday or move the mill. And so I have a hopper with an auger in it on the porch, and I take sawdust to the house in a 5-gallon bucket and dump it in the auger and turn the switch on. Slightly the same principle as a pellet stove, but it's not that refined. But I don't have to buy pellets.
I think it's cool.
And I don't have to throw the sawdust away.
Now, when you drove your green truck, lumber, from Spokane there, you kept the speed limit down the ridge behind you.
I told a cop here in Spirit Lake I didn't want to slow up traffic through town, all you guys put together. Well, he got a kick out of that one. Did very many of you people know Don Willing, Pete's Height?
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, him and I later in life was always arguing about something and going to the bar, and anyway, he happened to be looking out his window and seen me coming a load of lumber past the school. So, next time he sees me down at the bar, why, he starts in on me in front of everybody about how slow I was driving. So I hollered at him and I said, "Pay thanks for Christ's sake." I said, "Everybody knows you're not supposed to drive fast in a school zone." I said, "Besides, you Rodney's kid, you might dart out in front of me and I hate to run over him." Of course, Rodney was about 35 years old then, but I act like I didn't know it. So anyway, Pete's like kind of sat there with his teeth in his mouth and everybody else laughing.
You were a good reason for being late to work for me. Whether it be, because I worked at Stone Ridge for 40 years. And if I was really late, I could just say, "Got behind Buzzy today." Okay.
All I can say is I make my cars last longer than most people.
Since you have so kindly offered if other people want to speak, I imagine there's stories out here about you. Does anybody have any stories? Fred mentioned the coin purse that you had when you were little, young, came to the cash and carry. Other story, we have these stories about your vehicles. How many times have you been in the parade?
I'm in a parade every day.
And you lead it.
You are your own parade, you are.
But it was asking about if I'd seen changes. For example, I remember 3 different post offices in Spirit Lake.
Where were they?
Well, of course, we all know where the one is today. The one before that was down where that cafe is on the corner.
In where the gal's got the clothes for sale.
Yeah. And then when I was a kid, it was across the street between Liquor Rover and the corner. And there were 3 full-service gas stations when I was a kid. I think Ole knows more about one of them than I do.
Can you tell us more about your family?
Well, I suppose I could. I don't know quite what would interest somebody. They're all gone now. I'm the only one left.
Well, again, you mentioned about your mom and her last ride was in that car that came in the box car, but we don't know when that was, how long your parents were with us.
Well, okay. We brought her home. We have a family cemetery on the farm. Well, she died in 1987, and of course, her car wasn't intact anymore, but the engine of it was in this truck. So anyway, we brought her home casket and all. We did the same with my dad and my son. I have one son left. 2 grandkids.
And that son, is that the one that went to college?
Yeah, the one that went to college, yeah, he's the one left.
Tell him to college.
Well, the one son I have left went 5 years to MIT and 5 years to Stanford.
Wow.
Well, I got Bo's attention.
So I'm going to tell a story about Buzzy then. So again, we moved here in 1982, and we were so grateful when we discovered that Buzzy was selling wood, and we were trying to make our place more livable. And so we went up to get wood early then, and so forgive me, Buzzy, but I just have to smile and tell this story. So Buzzy was telling us a little bit about his son, and he's like, he's going somewhere, some big falutin place. He's going, he's doing something, and I don't know, just some kind of school out there, and I'm like, and then we learned later it was MIT, right? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
That's okay.
I was just telling a story about you.
Okay.
He did not brag. He was not a bragger. No, but he should have been.
I wish I knew more of you here than I do. There's some of you, of course, I recognize, but not everyone. Probably most of you have seen me, at least on the highway. But anyway, does anyone else have any questions? Yes.
Well, speaking of seeing you out on the highway, I think it was just this past Sunday. I was driving, I saw you out Delcana Way. You were pulled off over there in Ponderay County. And I was wondering, that's a pretty good drive to take out. And you had your wagon you were pulling. And I was wondering if you have some favorite spots out there, out that way that you like to go visit, or...
Well, there was a car show we were supposed to be at Cusick, but it either got canceled or it was a misprint or something. But anyway, so I just pulled off. But anyway, the trailer behind my car, a wooden wheel camp trailer, it's made out of a 24 Chevy. So it's probably a wooden wheel camp trailer is the only one I know of. But the whole apparatus is roadworthy. The car I drove today, if I want to go to Missoula, I just fill a gas tank up and go.
Tell us about some of the trips you've taken with your car and that trailer, because I've heard you've gone quite a ways.
Well, I have gone quite a ways. It's over 40 years ago. I seen a seaboard state. I didn't see the Atlantic Ocean, but I did see a seaboard state. 16 years ago, I drove to Colorado to my son's wedding. And came back in September. And I lucked out pretty good. The weather changed nasty the day after I got home. So yes, I went quite a ways with it. It's usually run trouble-free. Of course, there's always a possibility something could go wrong, but
How far was that, Buzzy? Down there.
to Colorado or back east?
Colorado. What'd you?
Well, that was I think about 1,100 miles each way.
What was you driving in?
Well, a Model A. Well, I don't know how to drive anything else, so you know that?
What's the top speed of the Model A?
Well, now that's quite an interesting question. Of course, it depends whether you got the trailer behind it, or whether you got a headwind, or whether you're going uphill, or whether you got the top up or down. One time the top was down and on level ground going on a raft from the Spokane. I was in a hurry, and I was stepping on it. And I come up behind a guy doing about 50, and I'm a cussing and fuming with my kid. I said, "What this SOB doing parked in the middle of the highway?" Well, I run it up the end of the speedometer and went about another 5 miles an hour or more. But there was two of us in the car, it was level ground, there was no headwind, no trailer, and so I had up to about 80 once.
Whoa.
But I can run up to 60 okay, that's not a problem. I don't usually do that because I want the car to last rather than see how fast it'll go every time I go somewhere.
How many miles per gallon do you get on your car?
Well, with a trailer and the top up, and that top catches quite a bit of wind, but with the top and the trailer I get 19. Without the trailer I get a little more, and if I take the top down I get a little more.
Not bad.
Tell what your dad did with his little cat around town here and stuff.
Oh,
Little
okay,
cat.
I have your back, Tony. Oh, you're both the same?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, in 1954, 55, one of our horses went mad and run off and died. Well, they finally found him down by Blanchard and dug a hole along the highway, and a state truck come along and hooked onto him and rolled him over in a hole and buried him. Well, anyway, so then there's, I don't know if I'm holding this too close. You're right there, fine?
You're fine.
Anyway, so then there was a big controversy among my mother and dad. They buy another horse, or do they buy a tractor? Well, this went on for quite a while, but anyway, they ended up buying a brand new John Deere dozer. Gasoline and small by today's standards. Well, he logged with it some, and he done work around Spirit Lake off and on with it. Dug a few basements and just built a few roads, and it wasn't all the time, but and prices were different back then. He charged $5 an hour for him and the dozer. And he borrowed your granddad's truck a time or two to haul it. He put in part of the road up to where Ted Nash used to live, which is across the creek and up the hill there. And, well, I remember that pretty well. And there's a short stretch in the road, and why they had him build it, I don't know. It was kind of steep, but he did what they wanted. And he decided to load it on your granddad's truck up at the top of the hill. I don't know why, rather than at the bottom, but anyway, the 34 Ford didn't have much compression and it didn't have much brakes, and we're going down there, it's wound up, and he's got both feet on the brake pedal and cussing and fuming, and well, anyway, I rode it out the bottom and nothing crashed. But I still remember how mad he was. And I was scared, little kid, you know.
Buzzy, where'd you learn all your mechanical skills, or did you just teach yourself to take care of all your bits?
Probably learned most of them along the road. Oh, I can't do everything, but I do some stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I can't rebore cylinders or grind crankshafts or anything, but I mean, you know, yeah. Anyone else?
When were your kids born?
74 and 78.
74 and 78.
And your son that went to MIT, what job does he do now?
Well, he works for NREL, National Research Experimental Laboratory, which is he's not directly an employee of the government, but the government does hire NREL to do different experiments and all kinds of things. He's fooled around with jet engines some, and also how to make houses more energy efficient, and a bunch of other stuff that some of it is somewhat secret, so I don't even know what all of it is about. But anyway, they fly him all over the country. A month ago, they flew to Washington, D.C. for 3 or 4 days, and a week ago, he was in Colorado for a while, and of course, they fund all that. Oh, I guess that's great. When he was first going to school, well, he came home for Thanksgiving, I guess it was, first year in college. Well, we both heard the joke about this old Ozark hillbilly that had a big kid growing up and been through about every school they had there in the hills, and so the kid, he sort of wanted to go on to school, so the old man got him down to Flatlands in some bigger town and got him enrolled in some bigger school, and figured maybe learn something and get a big job uptown someday and help support him. Well, all the traffic and people and all the things the old man wasn't used to is down there, but he finally got this damn big old dumb kid involved or enrolled. Well, he's in a hurry to go back home, so he went back to the hills. So anyway, the kid and his mother, they write letters back and forth a time or two, and he's coming home for Thanksgiving. This is the joke part. Anyway, she's cooking and baking and looking out the window to see if he's coming, and, you know, no telephones or nothing. Well, finally she sees him walking up the road, and he got a tote over his shoulder, and oh, she pull her apron off and run down the road and get him in a hugging and kissing, oh son, I miss you, and all this stuff. Well, the old man, he wasn't so much for all this hugging and kissing, but he's in the kid's face demanding, are you learning anything? After all, he hadn't had any help milking cows or anything all fall. I don't know if that damn kid's learning anything. So the kid, he figured he better have something to say or the old man would jerk his funds and the party'd be over. So he says, well, Pa, he says, one of the first things we learned in arithmetic class is he started saying pi r squared, the formula for figuring a circle. Well, he didn't get through saying that, and the old man just blew up. He said, what? He said, pi r squared, or pi r round, cake r square. Just kidding. So anyway, when my kid come home the first time, why I got my head right in the pickup, only to let him out, and I'm demanding if he's learning anything. He still remembers it.
That's cute.
That's good.
So final call here. Again, we've just been, it's just awesome to listen to you, Buzzy. Do you have any more questions while we have this rare opportunity to hear from this man?
Well, I could keep him talking for hours. We don't have that kind of time.
It's true, but let's try this. Would you come back again sometime?
Oh, I probably would.
That's the Buzzy. There you go. Yeah,